So can you give me like the best argument as why the 2000s were elite? Because I know we always say the 90s, we always say the 70s, and the 80s.
Yeah.
We don't really say the 2000s as much, but I know the 2000s got something to say about that. What do you give me an argument for why it's so elite?
2000s R&B for me, in my personal experience, it makes sense for me because it's when I was able to freely start listening to R&B music. So like my introduction to be able to listen to R&B music and not be scared was 2000s R&B. I'm also a huge soul person, so I think coming from the soul of the 70s, that kind of ran its course. 2000s for me is when that was reinvented because we got neo soul, so they found a way to take that soul and now change the sonics. So 2000s kind of birthed a completely new era of R&B music because the 90s, those eras were like very short lived because I always say like 91 through like 94 sounds nothing like 95 through 97 sounds nothing like to what we R&B that we love. And then like they always say like music, especially R&B, is inspired by whatever came before it. So a lot of 90s R&B was inspired by jazz, which is why you got a lot of the fast riffs and you know what I mean. 2000s R&B was inspired by hip hop because 90s was so hip hop heavy, especially hip hop being the culture, rap being the actual music. So hip hop culture kind of bled into this new sound that we had never heard. We started to get like this hybrid of hip hop beats, but like real chords still, but radio friendly. Like you know what I mean? It was this.
It's kind of like that, not like from '96.
Yeah.
Right. So like 112's first album, you hear boom, 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 boom. You hear that from the Hitmen.
Yep.
That vibe.
Can't forget Tim and Bob.
Come on, man. Come on. Never ever can forget Tim and Bob. So you hear these heavy drum loops.
Yep.
With a real guitar lick on top of it with the harmonies. That led to artists like, of course, well, we talked about the soul part. That's the D'Angelos of the world. That's the Maxwells of the world.
Yep.
And the Music Soul Childs and that wave of soul. And then the R&B wave, which was like the Carl Thomas. Daniel Jones he was like 96, 97 originally, but that wave, that wave and Joe, all these guys started to come with these heavy beats, but still melodic on top. You know what I'm saying? From the early 2000s. So, I mean, I think about that, not to cut you off, and I think Neo, right? Like 04, 05.
Amazing. One of the best, in my own words, in my opinion, historically is one of the best debut R&B albums that we got. It's consistent top to bottom.
No question. We talk about So Sick. Like So Sick to me is just like, again, like I feel like 2000s R&B joint it cut through one of them ones. At that time. And So Sick, I just heard it in the club the other night, and I'm like, bro,
it was so different.
Still hard.
It was such a different record, and it carried its own like presence. And I think like, with R&B of the 2000s, another huge driver of that, like, culture really does drive music. We had so many cultural moments, and technology had advanced a little, and so then we had like 106 in Park, we had Access Granted, we had all these things. It all made the music feel really new because it made it like fully immersive, and we started to experience music in a different way that we couldn't experience in the 90s.
That's right.
So I think that those technological advancements really did their thing, because also in the 90s you kind of had to be in the same place to make music, like, and somebody had to have an actual studio.
That's
or you couldn't just it wasn't happening.
You had to literally mail FedEx or whatever the DAT tape or the reel or however you was doing.
That's crazy, man.
Or if you had digital, I remember it's very heavy. You got the DAT. You literally we recorded it digitally, but make sure, and you got to sit it back so we can cut this. That's crazy. Somebody
just told me a story about that they used to be like a delivery person, like, and it was either a song, like an album or something that was huge in our culture. they basically had they were the person to deliver it to who made it like a thing. I wish I could remember what it was.
Wow. I mean, it's funny how much technology has advanced.
Yeah.
Just in my lifetime. It's crazy.
Can we talk? Oh, can we talk? Can we talk?